staying with the rich countries for a moment and the situation issue there, I wonder about the intra-country inequality which you were mentioning, because we touched on the global inequality and we see certain gaps, but the intra-country inequality is very interesting because it seems to develop even more in the richer countries. Can you explain it a little bit, where we are, what the status quo is, and why this tends to happen?
Well, it's of course a long topic, but let me just give you a 3-minute version. Basically, there are three main culprits, if you will, and it's very difficult to apportion, what part is responsible for what part of increasing inequality. But broadly speaking, the first one is technological progress. And then you can actually say it was, skill-biased technological or capital-biased technological progress, meaning that people with higher skills, of course, work more easily with sophisticated equipment, and their wages increase compared to the wages of people with low skill. And it's a fact that, of course, particularly if you look at the U.S., the premium for the high-skill wage has gone up. So that's first possibility. The second possibility is globalization. And that's basically Chinese imports and outsourcing and investments, like, of course, in Germany as well, investments outside of the country. Essentially, you are hollowing out the middle class. These people have no jobs. They are being replaced by something which can be done much more easily in China, India, and Vietnam, and so on. So that's the second explanation. And the third explanation is policy. And that goes back to the reduction in inheritance taxes, in the marginal taxes on both labor and capital, on a reversal, actually historical reversal, that now we have taxes in the U.S., taxes on labor being much higher than taxes on capital, which was never the case. Actually, people forget that Reagan campaigned for equalization of the taxes, but the pendulum has now gone so far back that, of course, tax on capital is much lower than the tax of labor. So there are three explanations, basically, and I call them, to remember, easy sort of mnemonic, it's TOP, T-O-P, because the first is technology, the second one is openness, and the third one is policy. Now, depending on what you believe, it's very difficult. Different people argue different things. But the first one is something you can do nothing about. Practically, technological change, you cannot just reverse and say we are not going to create computers anymore. So you can do nothing. Openness, obviously, partly is policy, because you could actually opt out of certain types of globalization, and countries do. Although the limits to that are much more severe now, because every country is either part of WTO, on their other regulations. There is now Trans-Pacific and Transatlantic Partnership and so on. And the third one, if you believe something actually, is that the governments have done. So really your, I think, approach toward the increased inequality varies of the function of what your implicit sort of understanding is. If you implicitly believe it's technology, you just shrug your shoulders and say, well, we can't do much. If you implicitly believe it's policy, then you say, well, the governments really have tools to change that. So I'm not going to come out on either side, but I'm just saying this is, in my opinion, the three main forces, and the three main forces have a little bit of different implications as to what we as countries can do.
Now, when you talk about these reasons, what are the main remedies then, as far as you are concerned?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, it depends actually what you believe to be. As I said before, I think on technology, there is no remedy. It's just you might hope there will be some technological changes.
Well, Dominic was just saying exactly that actually technology may leverage us out of inequality.
Or, there is another possibility. For example, people have argued that, for example, cell phones that allow farmers in Africa to get actual information about prices have been pro-poor, in the sense that the grain is disproportionately great for the poor people who never had access to, had no idea what the prices were. But if you believe, however, it's policy, then of course there you have lots of other things. I talked about that before, so I don't want to repeat the issue of education and access to wealth. Ability to actually have higher returns for the poor, for the less rich people. And then of course you have taxation, particularly high, inheritance taxes and so on. So really then you have leverage, or levers rather, tools to reducing that.